Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Guinea Titan, and this is a first look at the Spähpanzer I C, the Tier 7 German light tank that moves on from the VK2801. So I've completed the VK2801. Well, I've actually completed the VK2801 for a while. I was kind of waiting for the crews of the Skoda T25 and the 40TP to catch up in terms of experience, and the Skoda crew have caught up. They're almost ready to be transferred over to their, well actually they have been transferred over to their new tank, and the next video will be the T34-100 in stock configuration. However, we have here the Spähpanzer I C in its stock configuration, and it's a pretty decent tank. It drives a bit like the VK2801 in that it feels a little bit sluggish. It's got a decent enough top speed, but it takes a bit while to get there. It's fast enough to drive you into trouble, not necessarily fast enough to drive you out of trouble. However, it's smaller. It's a little bit harder to hit, and it's got a very punchy gun. It doesn't fire very fast or very often, but when it hits, it packs quite a wallop. It's effectively a medium tank gun. And a good medium tank gun. I mean, this is what, a Tier 7 tank, so this is actually a punchier gun than you'd get on a Leopard, well, at least on the Craft Panther, in my experience. So it's a 90mm gun, and the gun, I think, all three versions of the gun have similar damage output and similar rates of fire. But it does improve. The first two I think are the same. The second one, the last one, then has a slightly better penetration statistics. Bit long on the aim time, but it does snapshot quite effectively. So can be used in that way. And you have a moderately decent amount of ammunition. The premium is heat, which has the usual problems that heat can have. Yeah, you get superior penetration, but it can be really negated by spaced armor or tracks and things like that. Sometimes you get, just do no damage when you fire into those kind of things. It's equipped with vertical stabilizers, rammer, and optics at the moment, so I can see well past my detection range, and it's reasonably stealthy as far as I can tell. I haven't had too many opportunities to maximize the stealth usage in this tank. Been all on relatively small maps or urban maps, or fairly confined maps. But it performs quite well because if you penetrate 5 times, you've done your hit points worth of damage, and therefore it's kind of easy. I think I'm averaging 900 damage in 11 games so far. And that's with the stock configuration, so I'd actually expect to improve as the tank improves. The next configuration actually improves the mobility of the tank, so I get better tracks and better engine, and the best power to weight ratio of the 3 possible configurations. There's a slight drop in the power to weight in the final configuration. It unlocks the light tank line all the way to Tier 10, but it also unlocks the Indian Panzer to the Leopard line. So I'm going to have to explore that line as well. So one of the things that I'm going to be now required to do, which I should have been doing all along, but I wasn't really paying enough attention, I suppose, is to get myself an extra German driver, or at least an extra German driver with a decent selection of skills, so that the Indian Panzer won't be let down by the lack of skills on the part of the crew when I get to that part, because as I keep pointing out, when you get into the higher tiers, skills matter, and they particularly matter for medium tanks and light tanks, because you frequently need skills to get your view range up to the point where you can see to the limit of where you're being detected and stuff like that. And if you don't have the skills, very often you're at a massive disadvantage because you're being shot at by tanks that you can't identify. They're beyond the edge, or they're at the edge of your detection range. They're detecting you, but you're not detecting them, and it's getting fairly hard to deal with that sometimes. if you're in that kind of circumstances, then you have to change your play style and play a more cautious role and just stay back further. And then a lot depends on the kind of the gun handling of the tank as to whether the tank works with that kind of configuration or operation. However, I think this tank will work in a number of ways. I haven't tried it without coated optics, which I might just do just for the kind of the head of it, just to see what the view range is like without it. Because I do think that with decent skills, vents would be a viable option as well on this tank. That you wouldn't need coated optics, or you could try equipping it with binoculars as a passive scout. But I just think of the way the game is at the moment and the kind of maps that you frequently get, passive scouting or equipping as an out and out passive scout at the higher tiers is possibly a waste, because there's an awful lot of tanks at the higher tiers with really good view range, both tank destroyers, medium tanks and light tanks. There's usually a decent selection of them on both sides, and when you are moving around you are likely to get spotted then, and the opportunities to use binoculars and camouflage netting is actually light enough on the ground, so it's possibly not a configuration that's really worthwhile. Now, I skipped out to the end of that battle after getting destroyed. We won. I mean, we won comfortably without any real risk of losing, but it was very kind of campy and snipey and long range kind of stuff. We came number 2 by experience. We got like 1400 or 1700 direct damage, 1500 assisted damage, and now we're going to look at the same tank again on just a slightly different battlefield with more of a medium tank style play, which I think this tank will actually support quite well. A kind of aggressive light tanking play, which I'm not necessarily particularly good at, but sometimes when the opportunity arises you can pull it off. Here we're on Ardennes Encounter, and we're bottom tier. It's a tier 9 game. But my initial thought was to kind of run along the middle of the town just to see if I could spot anything, get initial spots. Because sometimes the enemy runs directly to the cap circle, and sometimes the enemy circles around and comes in on the western side of the town. Because it's kind of a safer approach in many respects. So I just turned here. I didn't go all the way out because I'd just be too isolated, and there's always a chance that I could run in. There's a good selection of light tanks in the enemy team, and I was kind of afraid that I'd run into one of them, so I didn't want to be too far away from support. So I came around that way, and there's a dragon. I decided to ignore him, but he came after me, which is fine, because I was moving towards allies. A bunch of us had gone around by the northeastern corner of the map, and there he is. He's coming up behind me. So at this point, yes, I realised there's confrontation going to happen here, although he's shooting other people. At that point he gets a bit distracted and he drives right in the middle of 4 enemy tanks. And as you can imagine, that I mean, I presume the dragon's a pretty decent tank, but there's only so much one can get away with. And I only get to do one shot on him, simply because of the amount of tanks that was just around. So there's a T-69 spotted up there, and we have an ally already heading into the middle of it now. He's gone a little too far ahead, although he's found the artillery though. I think he'd probably get rid of the artillery. But the T-69 it's dangerous, and at the same time it needs to be around friends because it's got a very long reload. But I'm coming in with an ally, and I go one way here and the ally goes the other way, and I'm just trying to get that T-69 between us. So far I don't think I've landed any kind of hit. I'm just shooting on the move, and I'm doing it at a little bit of range. You're better off being really close when you start doing that with this tank. So we get a couple of shots into him, And I think he's about to run out of ammunition, so that's it. He's completely, because he's like a 30-second reload or something like that on his 4 shots, and he's not going to take anybody out. He's for 800 maximum damage or something like that. So he's gone. And we've actually really whittled down the enemy team, because there was a surprising number of tanks, should we say, not in the town. But they weren't doing anything terribly useful either. Guarding the artillery, so to speak, but they didn't succeed in doing a decent job of that. They just weren't coordinating. We have a T-28 prototype now. I think we're all T-28. Was going as fast as he could. He just didn't get there. And we have an AMX 1390. And he seriously outclasses me here. But I I just keep banging into him to knock the tracks out. So he can slow down, so they can shoot him. Because these buggers are fast. And they really need, you need help, as well. You've got a fairly large clip capacity. And the presence of the extra tank has made the difference, because I think he'd have gotten me there. 38 hit points, 36 or 38 hit points left. So we are now, we've racked up a decent score, like we've 1467 damage. And we're not finished yet. There's a T-26E4 up ahead. I think there's an opportunity there. Because that's a decent tank, and whatever he's facing, there's a good chance he might actually kill it. He's got a good frontal armour, and I'm going to be behind him. Now again, I snap off the first shot and I bounce, but I should have probably waited. This is one of my flaws. He actually didn't kill the other tank, but he was aware that I was there, and he was turning around to get a shot at me, and well, it didn't work out. And the chariot here is about to die. And there's a Conqueror over there as well, but I don't think... No, the chariot here is our guy. Conqueror is about to die, sorry. And the Conqueror dies, and that's it, I don't get involved. So we finish up with 1657 damage, 2 kills. A second class mastery when we get around to seeing the actual score sheet, which will pop up now in a second. And we came number 1 by experience as well in the team sheet. So I think this is overall, it's a pretty good tank. I'm really enjoying it. It's got a really good gun. Unlike most of the previous German tanks that I've played, which tend not to have a great gun in the first package. So I'm looking forward to the subsequent iterations of this tank. The speed increase and power to weight ratio increase in the next round should actually be quite interesting, and really increase the flexibility of this tank in the various kind of encounters that you're likely to finish up in. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please press like, comment, share. It really helps the channel out. And if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.